Hey everyone, welcome to the first video on my thoughts on series and stuff. Today's video is on Pacific Rim The Black, an animated Netflix series based on one of my favorite films ever, Pacific Rim. Pacific Rim The Black follows the tale of two siblings, Taylor and Hayley, as they pilot an abandoned Jaeger in post-apocalyptic Australia that's overrun with kaiju. Now, I've said it in passing, but words truly cannot begin to describe just how much I love Pacific Rim. I mean, what about it I enjoy and why I enjoy that is a video in and of itself, but it's gonna require a different format and probably be done on a different day. But it's because I love the first film so much that I judge the sequel so harshly. And the sequel is to blame for how I felt about Pacific Rim The Black before I even started watching the show. I had zero faith and zero hope going into Pacific Rim The Black, and I guess Guy 1 and Guy 2 are gonna have to tell you how that all went down. But before we let them grace the screen, why don't you go ahead and hit that big red button. Yeah, that's right, subscribe. We're trying to reach a goal of 1,000 subscribers, and we're almost about halfway there. We're growing slowly, but we'd really appreciate it if you subscribed and if you shared with your friends and told them to subscribe as well. Don't forget to hit that bell to be notified about every time we upload. And if you're willing to show some more support, consider becoming a bro by becoming a patron. Patrons get early access and behind the scenes content plus much more. So go down to our Patreon and let us hold $1. All done? Great. On with the show. Whoa! What's gotten into you? I'll tell you what. Pacific Rim, that's what. Is this the sequel? Of course not. Of course. You know we do not speak of that. All right. Well, what's this all about then? I'm talking about that slap in the face called Pacific Rim The Black on Netflix. Ooh. I'm sorry, buddy. I tried to warn you. And I appreciate that. But I had to see this through. And words cannot describe my indignation. It's almost as if they enjoy hurting me this way. Is this also something we shall never speak of? No, we're gonna talk about it. And we're gonna talk about it now. Because otherwise, I don't know what I'd do with all this anger. Okay then, let it out. First off, Taylor sucks. Okay. And Hayley sucks more. Who doesn't suck then? Loa. Loa is the only person in the show with any kind of sense. And that's really saying something because she's an AI. She's not even a real person. Second is Boy. Boy was definitely a special case. Yeah, you can really tell how much effort the writers put into him by how they named him. Yet you like him more than you like both Taylor and Hayley. Oh, definitely. Hayley got everyone killed the first chance she got. The moment she dropped into Atlas Destroyer, she just, boom, got everybody killed. Also, super convenient that they just left Atlas Destroyer there. What was the PPDC? That was an accident. She didn't mean to attract a Category 4 kaiju. What did she think would happen when she got into a giant robot designed to fight giant monsters? She should have just got out of Atlas Destroyer and gone to get Taylor, who was in charge of everything, and just tell him what she had discovered. No, instead she tries to start the walk sequence. Dummy. Come on, bro. She didn't know what she was doing. Tell that to all the people who died when Copperhead came and destroyed the village. You know what? That's a good point. And to make matters worse, after they shake off Copperhead, they don't even go back to check if everyone's okay. They just assume everyone's dead and they move on. So anybody who survived the kaiju attack are for sure dead by now. Gee, well now you just made me feel bad. No, don't blame me. Blame Tweedledee and Tweedledum who got into a war machine and decided to take it for a walk for I don't know, for kicks, for fun, I don't know. I don't know what's going through their brains. What about the Jaeger Destroyer? Copperhead. I think that was a monstrous kaiju. What did you think? I agree. It was a fierce foe. Definitely not something a bunch of kids in a training Jaeger would be able to handle. But see, that right there is the problem. What? It was bad that they made a big, bad, terrifying kaiju? Of course not. No, that might have actually been one of the things they did right. The problem is, even though the kaiju are these big, bad creatures, and the Jaegers are these awesome, destructive machines standing several meters tall, just doesn't feel that way. What are you talking about? You see both Jaeger and Kaiju towering over people. Yes, I can see that they're big, but they don't feel big. You sound like my ex. What? I said you sound so upset. Well, I am. This doesn't feel like the original film, where you could see that just one Jaeger took countless teams of people to make work, where it took so much ingenuity and thought into the movement of just one arm on this massive giant machine. It's not the same. The fights are less impressive and the kaijus aren't as intimidating. I'm not scared, I'm not surprised, it just doesn't feel the same. True. I didn't feel like humanity was in any immediate danger, and apparently the kaiju had already taken over the entire continent of Australia. Maybe it's because Atlas Destroyer looks like a car out of Need for Speed 1. That paint job is so ridiculous. It would take too much time and too much money. Jaegers are built to fight. They're not built to look good. It was a training Jaeger. It wasn't meant to be out on the field. True, but would the PPDC waste time and money painting a training Jaeger when they have kaijus to fight? Kaijus which are apparently taking over an entire continent? No, that doesn't sound right to me. This whole thing feels like the sequel. Just like a cheap knockoff. It can't be all bad. What about when Taylor had to learn how to solo pilot, and so to figure it out, he ghost drifted with the drift data of her cancer? That was one of the dumbest things I had ever seen. Why would you want to drift with a pilot during solo combat? I mean, the fear, the stress, the neural strain, you're begging to mess your brain up. But it was a cool concept. No, it was dumb. It's the kind of thing that you don't let a pilot do without authorization and a ton of medical observation. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Desperate measures, not idiotic ones. And that dummy Tyler went and chose Hansen's data over both Pentecost and Raleigh. The only two pilots to successfully fight and kill a kaiju during solo combat. I'm not counting that fight Hansen had at the beginning of the series. I'm not counting it. I'm not counting it. You're not gonna count that? You're cold, man. You're cold, bro. Atlas Destroyer is a Mark III Jaeger. He should have chosen Raleigh's drift data because Raleigh piloted the most notorious Mark III Jaeger ever, Gypsy Danger. Especially since Atlas Destroyer didn't have any weapons and the Beckett brothers are notorious for their street brawl fighting style. If he's going to have to punch a kaiju to death, why not go with Raleigh Beckett? You really thought about that, huh? Barely. I barely thought about it. It was obviously the right decision the moment the options perked up. If you don't believe me, go back and look at how Raleigh and Mako fought Leatherback and Otachi in the original movie. They picked things up off the ground and used them as weapons, they took cheap shots, and they took every fight head on. Raleigh was obviously the better choice. You know what, when you say it like that, Raleigh does sound like the better choice. The obvious choice. Huh. Taylor does kind of suck. But I guess that's clearly a sign of Taylor's incomplete training. I guess it's not entirely his fault. He never graduated from being a cadet. Well, what about the support characters? Wasn't May nice to watch? She was okay. I liked how she handled things. She took no nonsense, she had some crazy ideas. Like when she lit up all of those landmines when they were running away from Copperhead. She wasn't bad. I liked the interactions she had with Hayley. She was probably the only good thing to come out of Bogan. What about the Jaeger technician guy? His name escapes me at this point. Okay, firstly, his presence was already way too convenient. Why would the PPDC leave behind a Jaeger technician during the Black when everyone was evacuating Australia? And also, I knew that he was gonna die the moment he messed his brain up with all that drifting. Okay, yes, his death was predictable, but there's no way that you saw them blowing his head up coming. That was a surprise, yes, I will give him that. Yeah, Shane was one evil dude. Yeah, he's a good bad guy. He channeled a lot of that Hannibal Chow energy, and I liked that. Though he felt weird. I don't know if it was the voice acting, the writing, or the animation, but his voice was so calm, yet his actions were so high energy and so quick and so unexpected. It didn't match for me. Also, I don't know if maybe it was an error with the writing, but at first he seems like a real compassionate guy who's willing to help, yet by the end of it he's ordering the murder of children. That didn't feel antagonistic, it felt inconsistent. Yeah, I was also surprised when he ordered the murder of the kids. It was unnecessary. What were they gonna do? They were completely powerless. They had nothing to seek revenge with, nothing to remember where they were. He was honestly wasting resources having them killed. Just evil for the sake of being evil. I know I've been playing devil's advocate here, but I want you to know that I actually agree with you. In terms of being another installment in the Pacific Rim franchise, this does fall flat, and it does feel like a certain sequel that we no longer speak of. But you know, in light of that, isn't it cool just to be able to watch giant robots kill giant monsters again? Hell no! Not if it's done like that! Good. That was a test, and you passed. You want to watch the first movie with me? You mean the only movie? Most definitely. Of course, man. I always want to watch that movie. Stop flapping your lips and put it on. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Was Pacific Rim the Black a thrilling series? Or are these people trying to hurt me on purpose? If you've never seen anything in the Pacific Rim canon, then this is probably going to be a very digestible watch for you. They don't do anything under the idea that you've seen the first film or its godless, bastardized sequel. And if you have, there's a lot of callbacks to both movies, so there's some leeway both ways. But if you're like me, and Pacific Rim is one of your favorite films ever, then this is just another false idol tarnishing the Pacific Rim brand. I remember watching the trailer for the original film and thinking that that movie was gonna suck. A friend convinced me to watch it. We went and we watched it together and we both left the cinema completely awestruck that something like that actually existed. I watched the original film, Pacific Rim, first of its name, 3 times while it was still in cinema. 3 times. So you can understand how upset I can feel when sequels and spin-offs come out that completely devalue the gold that is the first film. For starters, one thing that the movie makes abundantly clear is that not just any Tom, Dick, and Harry is meant to be able to pilot a Jaeger. May should have never been able to pilot a Jaeger, and honestly, neither should have Taylor, even though he had some training as a cadet. Stop trying to age things down like they did in the sequel. You're literally sending these kids to their death by putting them in these machines of war. I mean, what is with these people and putting kids into giant death robots? Unbelievable. Stop killing kids and stop throwing randoms into a giant monster-killing robot that takes years of extensive training to pilot. And also, while you're at it, why don't you stop ruining a franchise that's near and dear to my heart? You're ruining every opportunity you get to make this thing bigger and better. That was a bit too personal. Every time you put a random person or a kid with not enough training or a bright-eyed kid with no training who just wants to pilot their own Jaeger, every time you put them in one of these things and they successfully make it move, you're taking a massive dump on the pilots like Raleigh and Pentecost, the only 2 pilots who have ever survived solo combat, who went and killed the kaiju by themselves with the immense neural strain that was placed on them. You're just throwing everything they set up with that to the wayside. Jaeger pilots and their Jaegers were meant to be something that you could use time and time again. That so many of these crews and their Jaegers were falling due to Category 4 kaiju in the film was supposed to set in your mind the idea of how serious this threat was getting. And the success that Raleigh and Mako had in the first film is meant to be a testament to their ability as pilots. The fact that they were stepping up to the occasion and killing these bigger, badder, faster kaiju that would have otherwise drove us to extinction. Gypsy Danger successfully cut a Category 4 kaiju in half with its right side completely unable to operate. Yet here come Taylor and Hayley, an Atlas destroyer. Oh, look at us! We've never piloted a Jaeger before. Ooh. I don't know what that was. I meant to be angry. Yeah. Taylor and Hayley, or even May for that matter, being able to pilot Atlas Destroyer without any kind of training is an insult to the original source material. The show just does things willy-nilly and expects to get away with it. Listen, and listen good. I didn't like Kaiju Jaeger hybrids in the sequel, and I don't like them now. They're a farce. Why would a Jaeger infected with Kaiju spores go out of its way to eat things? It doesn't have a stomach. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but that just felt nonsensical. And how is it capable of piloting something that is so physically designed to be piloted by humans? Yes, there's a lot of pulleys and levers that are attached to the human body, which then get replicated by the Jaeger. I guess maybe at that part you just have to pull in the levers, but there's also the fact that you need to have human brainwaves, human brain activity. Maybe I'm stretching it. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. Completely throwing the whole two-pilot system thing out the window. It's like, bloody hell. I guess a counter-argument could be that when Dr. Geyser drifted with the Kaiju twice, especially with Dr. Gottlieb in the original film, that maybe they got some sort of information on how to pilot these things, but that doesn't make sense because both of them are scientists, not pilots. They're not trained to move Jaegers. Also, why does the piloting costume come out of the cockpit? Since when? Since when? Why does Atlas Destroyer come with its own fashion statement? After Atlas Destroyer lost an arm, how is it capable of just reattaching a new Jaeger arm that belongs to a Mark IV Jaeger, no less? Just willy-nilly. Just, this is a Lego piece, attach. No, that's not how this works. You can't just throw on a new body part. These aren't Legos. This isn't Bionicles. These things take time to build. What about speed? What about calibration? What about coding? What about data updating? Maybe the software doesn't match. What about calibration? Don't you think that it's just too convenient to just be able to attach an arm to of a completely different Jaeger? You just, boom. Like, come on, man. No, get out of here. Why is there a scene where they're in a cafe and they're dancing to loud jukebox rock music when making a noise in the wasteland is the same thing that got their entire village wiped out by a kaiju? So now it's okay for you to make a lot of noise? It doesn't make sense. And then Hayley, Captain Genocide here, just getting everybody killed, goes and stomps on a nuclear warhead. What? And why? Why, for the love of all things holy, did the kid turn into a kaiju? You know what? I'm done. I'm over it. I'm done. I'm done. No, I'm done. I'm done. You know what? Despite my anger, despite how I feel, this show has a 73% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 7.2 on IMDb. So you know what? My final score for this show? 2 out of 5. 2 out of 5. And that's me being generous. Bloody hell. Pacific Rim. The Black. What even is The Black? Why is it called The Black?
I hereby declare a state of emergency. Code Black.
Black? Huh. That's the worst color there is. No offense there, Carl.
I get it all the time.
Bumbaclot. But that's all from me, guys. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. If you hated this video the way I hate the series and the sequel, give it an even bigger thumbs up. As I said earlier, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified about every time we upload. And if you'd like to show some further support, consider becoming a bro by becoming a patron. This is my first time doing my thoughts on a series. It's already kind of getting to a length that's a little bit uncomfortable. It's longer than most of my normal videos, which is already saying something since my videos can already reach between 12 to 15 minutes. So I would really appreciate any kind of support that you guys could give to the Patreon. It would help with sort of making these longer type videos. I was actually planning on making this longer, but then I decided to play a little bit safer and chop off what I could. So any support, any donation is welcome, and you can just go over to our Patreon. Link is somewhere. If it's not in the top corner, you can find it down below in the description, and let us hold $1. I'm not entirely sure what the next video is going to be about. I have a feeling it's going to be by the Snyder Cut, and we're going to set sail for that next week, if you know what I mean. So we'll see. Look forward to the Snyder Cut video next week. If not, I'll let you know via my socials what's going down. Till then, I will see you later.